Hello and welcome. Thank you for signing up for this free presentation, free training video. My name is Juan Pablo Cangas. I'm the founder of Acceleration, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can scale your 6 or 7 figure Shopify store to more than that with Google Ads. So before we get started, remember that alongside this free training, you should receive also a free PDF download of a guide that I've developed for you. The guide is called 5 Tools You Need to Increase Shopify Sales with Google Ads, and it's the perfect companionship to this free training, so you can put some of the things you'll learn here today in practice. So make sure after you finish watching this video, make sure you check your email so you can get download link for that free PDF. So the goal of this video is to show you a simple vision for the future, something that will make your store a lot better. And the goal here is to smoothly scale revenue and profits as much as humanly possible with the Google Ads platform. And you will learn how you can leverage the power of Google Ads to scale your brand, stabilize your sales, and finally achieve consistent profits in a way that really doesn't take all your time and resources away, like you might be accustomed with other platforms or traffic methods. So the end result of implementing this process is that you will be able to bring stable profits and growth to your brand. You will also reduce the traffic risk by successfully diversifying away from social media traffic, maybe building on top of your existing success there or the lack of it, building a completely new channel of customer acquisition with Google Ads. And this should end up in giving you a lot of financial and time freedom, peace of mind that you finally have a business that is stable and works, and business success. So let's talk about how we can take your brand to your next level. We're going to be discussing some of the keys to success, and just know that this is based on a proven process that I've used to scale a Shopify retail brand from 0 to $1 million in revenue per year for 2 consecutive years. You can see a screenshot here. This store was in my country, Chile, so it's using Chilean currency here. But if you perform the calculation, you will see that the approximate value of the revenue I was able to generate for the store is about $2 million. And we could have made a lot more than that, actually. It's just that the brand owner was not very generous with the budget, but it was still a very good result. So you might be asking yourself, well, why should you trust this process, or even why you should trust me, that I'm the person that I'm speaking to you right now. So just so you know, maybe you're familiar with the platform Upwork, where you can hire people to do work, and you can also do work yourself if you're a consultant. And I've been working on that platform for over 10 years now, and I've been able to achieve top rated plus freelancer status, which means that I'm in the top 3% of talent there. So a lot of brands have put their trust on me with very good results, and I have proven results for multiple DTC brands, both in Upwork and outside of it. And I've been doing Google Ads for over 15 years, and I've been focused almost exclusively on that during the most part of my career. I have lots of testimonials from dozens of satisfied brand owners, and back in my agency days, I used to work with huge brands such as Microsoft, Unilever, and others. Back when I was working as an employee, as an analyst or a manager in agencies. And so you can rest assured that this process has been battle tested with big budgets, and when a lot of money was at stake. And that's what you're going to learn here how to do for your own brand. Just before we get into the meat of the training, a little bit of proof of results. You can see here a couple of brands that I've worked with 2.2 return on ad spend and 3.56. These 2 brands have their very different levels of ad spend, but both of them got really good results. You can also see here a few of the testimonials, people that I've worked with. most of the people I work with can end up being very satisfied with the process that I'm going to show you now. So let's get back to you and your business. Why are you watching why are you watching this video? Let's face reality. Most likely, right now, you're feeling stuck. So maybe ask yourself, or I am asking you, is your social media marketing a constant drain on resources, leaving you with inconsistent sales and a brand that's basically stuck in neutral? Or maybe you tried Google Ads, but it failed to deliver its promise of scaling your store. So just to put your mind at ease, you're not alone. This is a very common problem that I see many businesses facing, especially right now. So many businesses just pour their energy and time and money into Facebook or TikTok ads, only to find themselves creating a lot of content, a lot of ads, and not really seeing the results they crave, but more like dealing with a lot of problems. And sometimes these brands turn to agencies and freelancers, but that most of the time that doesn't help either. And you're still left with plateaus in brand growth that are really frustrating. You might be seeing an unpredictable sales and profits that are really super inconsistent and make budgeting a nightmare basically. You might also be feeling overwhelmed and maybe unable to focus on other marketing channels because you're fixing problems all the time. And maybe even you have tried Google Ads as an alternative, but it hasn't worked very well for you. So, well, you might be feeling maybe even a bit desperate right now or hopeless. But what if there was a better way? What if there was a simple way to leverage the power of Google Ads to finally scale your brand, stabilize your sales, and achieve consistent profits in a way that you can actually enjoy what you're doing, not have all your time and resources consumed by dealing with ad platforms? So these might be some of the challenges you might be facing right now. As we said before, inconsistent sales, low return ad spend, low sales, low conversion rate, wasted ad spend, low margins and profits. You might be in a state that I call comfortably busy, where you're making some decent money with your store, but sometimes you feel like you're running around like a headless chicken, fixing ad account issues all the time, and you probably losing a lot of money on that as well. And you might be feeling like you're always fighting this Facebook or TikTok ads monster, really. And all of this ends up in you not having the financial freedom you were probably looking for when you started this business. Uh, Not to mention no free time or very little free time. And you might even be facing the possibility of bankruptcy or facing just defeat. And what will everyone say if your store fails? Maybe you might want to ask yourself that. So there's a lot of stake here. And let's talk about maybe what would you would like to see instead. What are the results and what do you actually desire? So you're probably wanting to get consistent sales from your store. You're probably craving a high return ad spend, high sales, high conversion rate, uh, a way to spend your ad dollars very effectively. You might be wishing for Facebook or TikTok ads to actually become optional. So if you get banned or have issues, no big deal. You have something else that's getting you sales, which in this case would be Google Ads. And maybe you have envisioned a state which I'd like to call comfortably free, where you can actually relax into steadily climbing profits and revenue instead of wasting your time and money dealing with the BS from these ad platforms. So at the end of the day, what you probably want to achieve is financial freedom, more free time, and a business that is growing steadily, and maybe being admired by your family, your friends, and other business contacts or peers. And well, we don't really live, we really shouldn't live for other people's validation, but It probably would feel very good to have your business grow as it should instead of facing the possibility of defeat. So now that we have explored the problem a little bit, let's talk about the solution, right? So just a side note, this is a small part of my full scaling system, but if you implement these next few points, you should be able to get a lot better results with your brand. So the first thing that I would recommend, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I see brands do, is that they don't have the right goals. So this is the very first thing you need to do. And you should be focusing on long-term brand growth, right? So as a philosophy, I really believe this, and we shouldn't be after one night stands, as we could say, with customers. What we should want is a happy ever after relationship with them, and we should be willing to invest what's required for that. So many brands are using a return on ad spend as their main metric or KPI. But I'm gonna say something a bit controversial here, and I would say that ROAS is not really the best metric. What you should be using instead is customer acquisition cost. And more specifically, I'm going to explain you a little concept that it's called the LTV to CAC ratio. Now, this might sound a bit technical and weird, but it's quite simple once you get the hang of it. So you might be familiar with the concept of lifetime value, which basically accounts for if you get a new customer, lifetime value just the sum of all the revenue that that customer is going to bring into your business over the course of their lifetime. Could be a few months, could be a few years. It depends on each business. So the idea here is that if you take this lifetime value and you divide it by your customer acquisition cost, you should be aiming for a ratio of 3 to 4. And I'm going to explain in a moment why these specific numbers. Also take into account where you're calculating this lifetime value. You should also be taking into account the costs of your business. So like your product cost, any warehouses or any other fixed and variable business costs that you might have for the business. So for example, if you have let's say you get a new customer and that customer on average generates $500 in lifetime value for your brand. Let's say your margin is about 50%. So that means that this $500 LTV becomes 250 adjusted lifetime value, or you can say ALTV. So if we go back to this ratio here, how can we make the ratio between the lifetime value and the customer acquisition cost 3 to 4? So it's a simple formula. You can just take your adjusted lifetime value, that means already discounting your margin, and you divide that number by 4, or you can also divide by 3, and this will give you a range for the customer acquisition cost. So in this case, in this example, we take the 250 adjusted lifetime value, we divide it by 4 and also by 3, and we get these two numbers, 62.5 and 83.33. Now you can do the same exercise for your own brand. Probably numbers might be a little bit different, but I think you get the idea here. And what we get here at the end, this 62.5 to 83.33 range in this example, this is what becomes this target customer acquisition cost becomes a target cost per sale for your Google Ads account. So this will be the main metric that you should be optimizing for. Now you might be asking yourself why this ratio has to be between 3 and 4. And the reason is that this has been studied, and there's a lot of literature in the subject, and I have also experienced this with the brands that I'm working with and I've worked with in the past. And basically what happens here is that if this ratio, let's say this ratio is too high, maybe it's 5, 6, 7, even 10 times, that means that probably your lifetime value is a lot higher than your customer acquisition cost. And it could be because you're paying very little for the traffic you're getting. I mean, in terms of acquisition cost per sale. And you might be thinking that's a great thing, but the thing is, if you don't pay too much for that traffic, you might get very low quality traffic and you might also not get a lot of it. So you will hit a point where you won't be able to scale much. That happens when that ratio is too high. Google just will not send you traffic if you're not paying enough for it. The other thing that could happen is that this ratio is too low, and that would mean that your lifetime value is very close to your customer acquisition cost. So what happens there is that obviously you won't be very profitable. So you might be able to scale, but you won't be keeping much in your pocket. So that's also not desirable situation. Now, also keep in mind that you might not want to use the full lifetime value for this calculation because let's say the average customer stays with you for 3 years, and if you use the full number there, you probably won't be recouping your investment in advertising for the first few months or even the first year. So depending on your cash flow situation and also depending on the general strategy you're trying to follow with your brand, you might not be willing to wait so long to get your investment back. So maybe you will want to use a 6 month lifetime value or even a 90-day lifetime value for the purposes of this calculation. But the principle is the same. You're just not focusing just on the first sale. You're focusing on long-term value from your customers when deciding how much you want to invest in acquiring those customers. I hope that makes sense. A couple more things that I would recommend. First, one of them is doing proper keyword research. I see this all the time that brands use the wrong keywords, and also using proper match types. So this is a bit technical, but you should probably avoid using broad match, especially in the case of new accounts or accounts with a little purchase history where broad match doesn't really work very well. And you can use the tools I mentioned on the companion PDF to both do the keyword research and also to format your keywords in the right way, so you're no longer having to use broad match and deal with underperformance. And another really important thing is that you set up your merchant center account and your conversion tracking properly. So regarding merchant center, which is necessary for running shopping ads, as you probably know, you need to really make sure you're following Google's policies before you even start using it. Or if you're already using it, just make sure you review everything carefully, because so many brands get in trouble with Merchant Center because of not knowing the rules. And the rules are not very complicated, but it's easy to mess it up. And yeah, so just make sure you're following the rules, study them, get yourself familiarized with all that, and yeah, do things by the book because you don't want to get banned from Merchant Center. And the other thing is there's a specific Shopify app that I recommend for setting up both the Merchant Center feed and also your conversion tracking in a simple and effective way. And that app is also mentioned in the other PDF that comes alongside this training. So what I mentioned is those three things are really important, but they're really just this is just a small sample of my full scaling system. And if you have a few minutes now, I would like to explain this system to you. It shouldn't take too long. And the system basically has three phases. We have the first phase, strategize, the second phase, launch, and the third phase, which is about optimizing and scaling. And each one of these phases has three sub steps. So let's go into a little bit of detail inside each one. And just so you know, even if you don't implement this framework, maybe with me or my company, you can try to do this also. And if you follow these 9 steps, you should get much better results than what you're currently doing. So on phase 1, the strategize phase, we start off with what I call a growth catalyst audit. And the end result of this audit is that you will have your current performance and your conversion tracking setup assessed, you will have identified all the holes and opportunities that you have on your account, and you will have clarity on the overall strategy and how you can maximize your odds of success. So it was just laying the basics here, laying down the foundation. So then we go into step two, which is a framework for unlocking competitive insights. The results of doing this analysis is that you will know exactly who your best customers are. You will also know how to target them with keywords and audiences, and you will know what your competitors are doing. And all of this will end up in it being very easy to write some deadly effective ad copy that actually converts. And then finally we go into step three, which is a blueprint for strategic scaling goals. And the end result of applying this blueprint is that you will have a clear understanding about how much you should spend and really how to spend it, or what's the strategy to follow for growing your Shopify stores to be maybe 6-7 figures and beyond with Google Ads. And you will have precise criteria when scaling, so you can scale what works and scale down or pause what doesn't. Then after this, we go into phase two, which is a bit more interesting in terms of this is where the action starts happening. So the first step here is step four, which is a seamless Google integration system for conversions. If you follow this integration system, the end result is that you will have your Google Merchant account set up in the right way, so you can maximize shopping ad sales and avoid any problems in the platform. You will also have your conversion tracker set up in a simple and fast way that actually works. Also, you will have I will show you a way to set up your Google Analytics 4 in a way that's really easy and fast. And finally, you will have all these accounts linked and sharing data between each other and using best practices that will also maximize the odds of success. Then we go into the optimized campaign setup framework, and the result of following this framework is that you will have your campaigns ready and set up in the exact way which maximizes the odds of success. And these campaigns will include the right audiences which will be ready for targeting or retargeting ads, again with maximum effectiveness and results. And finally, we get into step 6, which is my strategic rapid launch sequence. There's a very specific way in an order in which you should launch campaigns, and the end result of following this sequence is that your campaigns will be launched in a way that maximizes the odds of success and also will be managed properly, because for the first few days when you launch or relaunch your campaigns, you have to do some very specific things in order to get the best results. Finally, once we have everything running and launched or relaunched, we go into phase 3, which is optimize and scale phase. And this phase also has 3 steps. So step 7 is what I call my profit growth mechanism. The end result of applying this mechanism is that you will have a weekly routine for scaling, so you can maximize profits and also minimize the risk of spending with little or no results. And by the way, if you decide to do this yourself, just make sure you're logging into your account at least maybe once or even twice, even every 2 weeks, but ideally once a week. And you should definitely have a weekly routine for optimizing and scaling your account. That's essential for getting good results. And then we go also into step 8, which is my profit amplification and protection system. This works alongside the step 7 profit growth mechanism. And the end result of this step is that you will have an optimized account structure that also maximizes profits and cuts down management time and wasted ad spend. So your account will evolve over time. It will not be the same once you get to this point as the account that you started with, and it will become more and more effective as time goes on and you apply these 2 steps. And finally, we get to step 9, which is the strategic iteration flywheel. And the end results of implementing this is that you will have a simple dashboard that you can finally and easily understand, which you can use to keep track of your results with Google Ads from one month to next and plan your next moves. And no longer you'll be dealing with all these complicated spreadsheets or these complicated columns and dashboards from the Google Ads interface, and you'll have something that's actually easy to understand and use. So I think right now you're coming to the conclusion that you have basically two alternatives. You can try to implement this full scaling system all by yourself. You can go back, review all the slides, try to figure out exactly what I'm talking about on each one of those steps. You know, it's certainly a possibility, but it's a lot of work, and it took me 15 years to get to this point where I could actually, um, you know, devise this system and systematize everything I'm doing, systematize everything I've done for so many brands, and it took me maybe hundreds or thousands of hours of studying the platform, reading countless articles, books, watching lots of videos, tutorials, like courses, you name it, I've done it. So that's what awaits you if you want to try it on your own. It might take you also a few years to get to a level where you can actually be getting really good results. You also have the alternative of having my help. So there's a few alternatives in that way. Like sometimes brands want to learn the process by them, like with my help, so I can coach them and guide them through this process and really shorten the learning curve. Or some other brands just prefer to, you know, give me all the work and basically just sit and count the money. So all those options are available. Sometimes I partner with brands in a revenue or um, profit share basis. So it all depends on what you're currently doing, and we can explore the possibilities if you want. So if you have any interest at all, go to the URL here in the screen, acceleration.com/schedule, and schedule your consultation with me. Um, I might be charging at the time you're watching this video. I don't know if it's free or not. It depends when you're watching it, but there's a chance that I'm not charging for consultations right now. So if you see that, I'll advise you to grab one of those as soon as you can, because many times I have limited availability, you know. Um, and regardless if we end up working together or not, I will do my best to give you some really good advice and give you some clarity, which is probably what you're missing right now. And before we go, I just wanted to show you a quick case study. This is a DTC car accessories brand that I worked with recently, and they invested almost $40,000 over the course of a few months, and they ended up getting over $150,000 in revenue for a return on ad spend of over 4 times. This is just an example of what can be achieved when you do things the right way with the Google platform. So with that, thank you for watching this training, and if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to leave me a comment here next to the video or send me an email. I'm always happy to speak with brands and be of service. So thank you for watching, and I hope you the best with your brand and your campaigns. Bye bye for now.